Hello, and welcome to episode 56 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me forever and always, the man, the myth, the trash monster, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al. And the shirt.
Sorry, I forgot something before the show started.
That's just wonderful. He took
Sorry,
it
what
off.
was that? I didn't hear
He
you.
took it off, ladies and gentlemen. He took it off. I called you a trash monster, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But on this week's episode, we're going to discuss some shakeups during the production of Bond 25, Hans Zimmer's score for Wonder Woman 84, and we're going to shine a little light on the Batman prequel series, all before diving into our flick of the week, Bad Time. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
Sorry, I was running late and I was racing around trying to get everything sorted, and I just forgot to take my shirt off. It's my bad.
That's quite all right. I don't know if you had as much. There's beer everywhere right now, and I'm cleaning it up. I don't know if you noticed.
I much better. Yeah.
I struggled during the intro there, and I couldn't pop the tab. It was like cemented down in the back.
Oh, I had one of those where I was set to go, and I cranked it to get a nice pop, and it almost won the battle against my nail.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
So we are drinking 14th Star Brewing Company's Maple Breakfast Stout, brewed with real maple syrup. It is a beer from Vermont, as it says at the top, craft brewed in Vermont.
Beautiful.
I got this on my trip up there for my buddy's wedding.
Nice.
It's a pint, of course.
Comes in pints.
Growing up in Vermont, it was always exciting to see my prepare Furland craft liquid gold from a simple maple tree.
Is Furland a name?
Keeping with this tradition of craftsmanship, we brewed our Maple Breakfast Stout with 100% Vermont maple syrup and Northern Bayou cold brew coffee. I hope you enjoyed this dark and delicious beer.
I'm excited for this. This looks wonderful. Cheers.
It smells pretty wonderful, too.
That was terribly weak. While you take a sip and give your little review, I'm going to find another glass. There we go.
Yeah, I usually have one. Well, when we
better.
have the glass bottle, it makes it easier, and I didn't have one, so I just flicked it really hard.
That's nice.
It is. Not nearly as intense as I expected, although I guess that's what makes it a breakfast stout.
It's supposed to be more subtle?
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is that it's breakfast beer is supposed to be a little lighter, more drinkable version so that you could drink it at breakfast, I suppose. Although I don't think that they're designed to be, although that is a thing. In Germany, from what I understand, it is acceptable to drink beer for breakfast. Well, not as a meal, but with breakfast. My dad said my dad used to travel to Germany pretty often for work, less so now. And he said that when he was one day he was flying back from Germany, he's in the airport. He had a fairly early flight, and he went to pick up a quick bite to eat for breakfast in the terminal while he's waiting for his flight. And he's sitting there, and there's a German guy drinking beer with breakfast. And so my dad asked him about that, and he says, "Oh yes, it's very, very common in Germany." He goes, "What are you drinking? What are you for?" He goes, "Oh, I'm drinking Budweiser. These weak American beers are very good for breakfast."
That's great. That's great. It just reminds me of drinking beer at breakfast. It just reminds me of the bachelor party, and we were making eggs, and Barrett cracked open a beer, and it was like somebody had to start the train.
Yes.
Right. And it was just when it cracked, it was almost as if everybody else in the room was like, "You can do that?"
I mean, I'm not opposed to that sort of thing, especially in that sort of circumstance. I probably would have kicked off with something more like screwdriver, mimosa, even maybe a cranberry with vodka. Like
that's kind of what it was, like a fruity.
Yeah, I think
like,
it had a shandy or something.
Shandy,
so.
yeah, it worked. I think that's like that was our justification as we drank it. I mean, it didn't justify what followed at 11, but I mean
that was
close enough.
Quite a day of drinking.
Yeah, it was a marathon.
Sorry, I'm smelling this delightful beer.
I like
because
it.
it's coffee. The maple is pretty subtle think it's more of like an accent with something as strong as a stout or something as bold as a stout.
Were you expecting like a straight up sweetness when you picked this?
I was expecting it to be more maple, but I kind of just picked it to be authentic to the Vermont experience. They like their maple syrup. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I spent several years of my childhood in Vermont, and thus I have quite a love for real maple syrup myself. Let me stress, real maple syrup.
Sometimes I put a little maple syrup in my hair when I'm having a rough weekend. What do you think keeps it up slick?
Wedding Crushers?
Yeah.
No, I love real maple syrup. If it's that, like, it's the Aunt Jemima or whatever, that sort of shit, like, that's like
it's just
75
high fructose corn syrup.
75% corn syrup, 3% maple, and whatever the rest percent, real original recipe.
Yeah.
I only if I'm like crawling through the desert type of thing. So
it can kill you faster?
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, I gotcha.
It's really, really, really a last option. I really don't like it very much at all, actually.
Yeah, it's not the best, but a legit maple syrup though.
I will try to find an alternative if I can't get real syrup. Like, I'd rather put just like plain jelly or something like that on.
For the amount of times that I'm consuming syrup, I'm pretty sure that it's always available to me to have the good stuff, because I'm never really seeking it out.
I don't go out for like breakfast or brunch like that very often, so I don't run across it very often. If I do have it, it's on like a Saturday morning at the house, and we always keep maple syrup. So
yeah.
The shit will last forever.
Yeah, we got a good chunk of that sitting around. Because it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like to use it in some random recipes here and there. Kim put it in our overnight oats. That's
nice.
That's a treat.
Yeah, that's a way to do it.
You can make your own wet walnuts ice cream topper. It's is that a treat?
I will say the last time I had maple syrup was when we went to Yonkers and I had that chicken and waffles. And
that looks damn good.
It was delightful.
There was a tooth in someone's lunch.
Actually, you tried a bite of it, right? It was good, wasn't it? That fucking hot sauce too.
I actually don't think I had a bite of that.
Or maybe Kim did.
I think Kim did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But from all accounts, for those that did try it, they did seem to enjoy it thoroughly.
I noticed some buyer's remorse around the table when they saw it come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
especially Carly with her rock laden breakfast.
Is that a fang? Is that someone's fang?
That's a pebble, isn't it? That's just a pebble.
That's straight up rock.
Pebble. It's a rock.
There was a rock in her food. There's nothing more to this story. We told the waitress she was very disinterested.
Yeah, alarmingly so, actually.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's all right. Well, I enjoy this beer though. I would definitely drink
this a lot.
More of this. I will. I can tell you for a fact I will drink more of this because I have 2 more cans sitting on my shelf over there.
Nice. Very nice.
Although, in an alarming turn of events, I looked at... So what happens is, when I acquire beers for the show, I take one of each, and I put it on a specific shelf on the door of the fridge down here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
I got one of those shelves going.
This way, I know. Well, I set it up like that because you had them all over the place in your fridge, and I was like, we can't do this anymore. You're going to lose track of the beers.
Well,
because you never seem to know what's in your fridge.
You just need to keep track of the beers, and I pull the beer out that you tell me we're having today.
That's all. But you had it mixed in with your other multi-purpose beers?
I was running out of space, Al. You don't understand.
This is what happens when I bring you all
the beer? This is what happens when you bring me all the beer.
A carefully curated assortment of beers for the show.
You know what the problem is? This is a logistical problem, folks.
It is.
The top shelf is able to fit bottles.
Bottom shelf
tall cans. The bottom shelf can't by like a millimeter, and it's very frustrating.
I have a shelf like that in my fridge too. It's annoying.
The door,
or if it's the short beers but not the tall beers.
The door can fit 3 standing bottles, but they will wobble like it's no one's business. However, did find out the door can hold a crowler perfectly. So,
well,
I'm still working through the system.
As someone who last week accidentally dropped a bottle off the top shelf of my standing fridge. You have a mini fridge. I dropped a bottle of beer off the top shelf of my standing fridge, and it fell to the ground.
Oh, good.
Didn't shatter.
Really?
It landed perfectly on the corner of the cap and bent it ever so slightly. So
I guess I have to drink this now.
A volcano of beer blasted all over the place.
That's amazing. It would have been better for you if it shattered. It sounds.
No. I would have much rather. I was not wearing shoes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it could have been worse. It could have landed on your foot, and that could have broken something.
At this point,
a toe here, a toe there. What's it do at this point?
I think I've broken a couple toes. Whatever.
Yeah, you get over it. You can't do anything about it. You just let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times if you break a toe, as long as the bone's not sticking out, you don't even really get it taken care of, which was the case for 2 of my toes.
My pinky is all sorts of screwed up. It's all sorts of angles. It goes left and right. Broken a couple of times. Yeah, look at you. Yeah, it's fine. Fingers, toes, they'll be all right.
I probably
nothing to worry about.
Taken care of. But,
in hindsight,
it's pretty fucked up.
I swear I'm not flipping you off.
No, thankfully it's not the middle finger. It's the ring finger on that hand. So I went over by. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, I have the shelf with all the beers. I have 9 or 10 single beers of one of each type of beers for the show coming up. The rest of them sit on shelves right next to the fridge. And yesterday when I went down there, I have multi levels of a rack basically. It's all different shelves of a metal wire rack. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff up there is my brewing stuff. Some of it is beer stuff. Some of it's miscellaneous stuff. And I just
hope it's in a box labeled miscellaneous stuff.
No, it's not. I noticed that one of my cans of beer that I got from Vermont blew up.
All right.
Just sitting on the top of the shelf, and the top of the can was mangled straight up and down, and it blew half the can all over the place.
How did that
happen? The same can of the next can of the same. I had 4 of those beers. One of them is in your fridge. One of them is in my fridge, and 2 of them were sitting on the rack. The other one was just as mangled and looked like it was on the verge of exploding as well.
Which beer is this? Why aren't we drinking that one before it explodes in my refrigerator?
Because if it's in your refrigerator, it's probably fine.
Do you know what could have caused the explosion?
The only thing I can think is, one, if it's a bad batch of beer, which there's no way of knowing that until you drink it. Or 2, if it wasn't canned properly, and there was, because it's under pressure, if it was, if the metal faulted. Or 3, if it's next to a heat source, that could cause the pressure would escalate and it could burst. So I put the other one back in the fridge because the third can that's sitting in my fridge is fine.
Yeah, you're going to taste that one first. That's your mission, should you choose to accept it.
I will drink the one that tried to explode.
Okay.
Sometime this week to make sure it's okay.
Sounds wonderful.
But the third can is fine. It's not bulging in any way, shape, or form. So, and that's the one that's in the fridge. So
okay. Speaking of mini fridges and beer fridges, I've got a question for you. I'm going to try to explain this apparatus that is inside of this fridge, and you're going to try and tell me what it's for. On the door of the refrigerator, there is a narrow section where you can lay cans down and stack them.
Yes.
Inside of that, there is a flap.
Mm-hmm.
Little flap thing. What I've realized that I can do with the flap is hold it out so that I could gently place a beer down into the thing. Once. And then once the beer is down there, I can't do it again because it's blocking it. So I have to drop the rest of the beers on the top. What's the flap for? Go.
I think I've seen that in your fridge.
I'm going to have to take a picture of this and send it out for those listening.
Because I'm pretty sure I've seen that in other mini fridges. And unless I'm misremembering what it looks like, you're supposed to drop them in through the top.
Yep.
And you pull the flap out to dispense one single beer can to yourself.
No. It's not That's not the way this apparatus is structured.
I've seen that in fridges, and I assumed that's what that was.
That makes sense. I agree. But the way that this thing is structured, they are all stacked, and you can just take a beer out of the bottom, and they drop down.
It might be installed upside down.
It's not. I didn't do it. It was on the door.
I didn't say by you. I'm just saying it might be installed upside down. I didn't say it was your fault.
Maybe. All right, we'll get to the bottom of this. We'll have the listeners figure this one out for me.
Well, anyway, I recommend this beer.
I do too. And what I really would like to recommend is, I feel like a nice little fire going, sitting down, a little blanket over the legs.
Well, it's a Vermont beer and it's a stout, so it could definitely go with colder weather. But for some reason, I'll tell you not for some reason. I'll tell you the reason. I was just having a bunch of wings and I was looking for a savory beer, and that was what I wanted to drink. That's why we're drinking this.
Nice. Well done. Good choice. Really happy with it. Well done, 14th Star Brewing Co. Keep up the good work. Our first story.
Wait, no. I'm going to tell us what the first story is.
Dun dun dun.
Sorry,
breaking nuggets.
Breaking news and nuggets. Well, you told me before, like an hour ago, that you had no news.
I had no news. It's a slow news week.
I showed up, and then all of a sudden you had news, and all of the news I'm pretty sure you stole from me, but then I'm not going to actually level any accusations.
I can promise you that I did not, because if you look at the Flipboard magazine, you can see the articles that I added about it.
Oh, I mean,
that's the
still done that to cover. You could have done that to cover up the crime
that you can follow too.
Neither here nor there.
Shameless plug.
No, I got myself in the headspace where I was like, oh, he's got no news. I have news this week. I'll just do the news section.
So, truth story. Not true story. Truth story. I was writing the intro, and I was like, well, I got to find something, because I have nothing to say at the beginning of the show. So I went.
I told you I would take care of it. It's fine.
That's yeah. But I went to the Flipboard, and I figured, if I could at least find a couple things, thinking that maybe they'd be different from what you had, we'll have some even more stuff to talk about.
Sure.
That clearly did not happen. It sounds like I have at least one unique story, so that's good.
You do. Okay.
Take it away, Alessandro Bielsi.
I had a beer-related nugget, so I figured we would transition from the beer to a beer nugget. And that beer nugget is that today I was doing beer stuff. Dry hopping the newest Al's Ales, which I did in fact brew last week. And it smelled delicious.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I am too. I'm pretty damn excited.
When
now that
can we expect it?
I'm pretty excited. What?
When can we expect it?
We can expect it in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. That's the timeline that I have to watch Cloud Atlas? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it's funny you should say that. Because let's hash it out on air. I'm already in the beginning stages of planning the next beer.
Excellent.
And me and friend of the podcast, Josh, who is my frequent assistant on these sorts of things, who's going to be taking on a larger role in the next beer because...
The Igor to your Frankenstein?
I'm glad that you got the reference. I figured you would. I knew you were a big Mel Brooks fan. Sorry, guys. That's an inside joke between me and him. It doesn't bear explaining. It's not that fun. Less beer in the moment.
Watch Young Frankenstein. That's all.
Yeah, that's really the biggest takeaway from this conversation.
What hump? I promise I'll try to stop derailing you.
No, it's okay. So I want to do it in mid-September-ish. I think I have a date. Are you free on, I think, September 15th? It's a Sunday?
Hard to say.
Because if you were, I think that's when me and Josh are going to brew the next batch of beer. I figured you might want to come be a part of that.
Okay, we're going to have to figure that one out. It's Kim's birthday is the 13th, and I'm trying to plan something for that weekend, so.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
May not happen.
I think that was the day, because he had some stuff going on certain weekends in September as well. Because the idea is we're going to make a pumpkin beer. We want it to be ready for Halloween.
Yes, for the pumpkin beer tasting.
I was hoping that would, in case you were still on the fence.
No, I got the wheels are turning. I'm planning it. I got ideas.
I figured it's end of August, so the pumpkin beers are just starting to come out. It's enough time for you to start planning it. I will have a contribution to it now. a real tangible one.
So,
and
for those of you that are not familiar with this, when my roommate and I lived in Hoboken, we would have a pumpkin beer tasting each year where folks would come over. We would have just this tremendous amount of every pumpkin beer we could find, and we would just,
40.
We had a good selection, and we would do a little tasting. Everyone would have a sip, little pour, 2 to 4 ounces.
Yeah.
40 beers, 40 of those will, that'll do stuff to you. But we haven't done it since I left Hoboken. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, that seemed like a daunting task. Why did it seem like such a daunting task? And the reason was, now, Michael did all the legwork.
I was going to say, it's probably because Michael did most of the purchasing and storing of the beer.
He did. Here is what the complications were. Michael would buy a 6-pack of everything that he found. We would preserve 1 to 2 of those, and we would need to make space for the rest. So by the time the beer tasting came along, we had all of these. A lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the new approach of the build your own 6-pack at every place that I can find and pick 1 to 2 of every pumpkin beer that I find, rather than stock up.
Well, you have a couple of things. One, you have more space if you do have
a house
overflow.
Yeah.
You have a house instead of a small apartment. And when and where applicable, you can do the buy your own, you make your own 6-pack thing. The couple of beer, there's 2 main beer places I go to by me, and neither of them does that, unfortunately. So I would love to make use of that service for the show, because I end up with kind of a similar thing to you, where I have a ton of leftover beer because I don't drink it that often anymore because I'm trying to lose some weight.
Sure.
So this is like my one of like 2 nights where I get to drink beer during the week.
Right. No, which makes sense. And it's a good move. Good move on you. But anyway, we'll stock up on, and having an Al's Ale available for that is going to be very key, which means that we're going to have to figure out a nice little Flix episode to go along with it.
Yes.
If you heard that was me just slamming my phone into the table.
I assumed it was your glass.
What percentage is this beer? Why am I feeling it? It's not even high.
Are you?
I don't know what it is. It's weird. It's not even high. Oh my god, I am a mess. All right. Anyway, so Al's Ales will make an appearance at the pumpkin tasting.
Yes. So the plan, as of right now, though these things are fluid, is for it to be a spiced pumpkin porter. Oh
yes.
Now, just to be clear, I said spiced pumpkin, not pumpkin spice. It's gonna have pumpkin in it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be one of those BS beers. Oh, this isn't for you so much as the audience. This is going to be one of those ones that says, oh, pumpkin beer, and then like there's an asterisk, and then if you do like a Where's Waldo thing and find where the asterisk leads to, and it says no real pumpkin, just pumpkin spice blend, it's going to have some of those spices as well, but it's going to have pumpkin. Excellent. Several pounds of it probably.
Nice. I'm excited. You should can you make the beer in a pumpkin? Can you make that happen?
Do an open fermentation and do it inside of open pumpkin?
Yeah, let's make that happen.
I am not
a real project out of this.
To make sure that that's in progress.
This is terrible, but damn, wasn't an accomplishment.
I love everything about what you did except for the product.
Excellent. I'm very much looking forward to that. Guess we'll review Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, but
we played a Hocus Pocus drinking game last Halloween or 2 Halloweens ago. That was good. There's some good rules out there for that movie.
I love those things. I just did one of those weird, association things, 6-degree separation type of thing.
Sure.
The first time I ever played a drinking game to a movie was Without a Paddle.
Oh, nice. Good movie.
Underrated comedy.
It's a fun movie. Obviously,
I know has your
Dak
favorite
Shepard.
guy, Dak Shepard.
Yep. Absolutely in love with him these days.
And I was watching a Dak Shepard movie while doing beer stuff today. Employee of the Month.
Nice.
Also, very good comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was my weird association thing that just went through.
And there's your peek at Al's brain.
Yes, it's a twisted, warped, terrifying place, probably.
Jesus. All right. So
some good stuff comes out of it. I make pretty good beer, okay?
You do make good beer. We're going to hit up the pumpkin beer from Al's Ales during the Halloween Fest. What else you got? You're taking the news away.
I went from having 2 news stories to 2.5.
Okay.
So let's do the half, and then we'll just jump to the other 2 because we had them in common. So are you familiar with David Ehrlich, the movie reviewer for IndieWire?
No, for whatever reason, the name sounds familiar, but no, I can't say that I am.
I would say you probably have read his stuff or seen him on Twitter, and that's why. And that's why, because the same thing, like for me, like if you just said David Ehrlich, I probably would have been like, eh. But as soon as I saw his name on Twitter, I was like, and I clicked on his bio, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, now I kind of know who that is. I saw someone retweet a tweet of his, and I found it comedic. So I'm going to read you that tweet, and you can then go forth and find it if you wish to read the story that he posted along with it.
Okay.
The tweet reads, last week, I called Mile 22 the worst movie of the summer. Brief sidebar, in case you guys haven't seen the million ads for it, especially online, not even on TV. I see them online all the time for Mile 22. It's a Mark Wahlberg, Lauren Cohen from The Walking Dead, Ronda Rousey. It's a weird cast. Some sort of action movie. Okay. Sidebar. Last week I called Mile 22 the worst movie of the summer. My review of The Happy Time Murders begins with a sincere apology to Mark Wahlberg and to all the readers of IndieWire. I spoke too soon. Please forgive me, and may God forgive us all.
Oh my God, that's great.
And then he linked his review of The Happy Time Murders, which, in case you guys were not familiar with that one, it is the Melissa McCarthy movie with Muppet or Sesame Street style puppets in it, where it's one of those like worlds where like people and puppets live alongside of each other, apparently.
And we just don't talk about it.
No, we just don't talk about it. It's just a thing that happens.
Right.
And the tagline, for those of you who are still not familiar with this atrocity, is no sesame, all street.
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that whatever company that like owns Sesame Street or whatever, they sued to get them to stop with the Sesame Street references and the puppets and everything. They lost.
Wow.
It sounds as if the world would have been better off if they won, though.
Yeah, it seems that way. So, I mean, that's kind of funny. Because Kim and I were talking about this earlier. It's like, we just want to go see a movie, and there's nothing appealing right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that I'm interested in seeing coming up until I saw there's a movie coming out next week that looks interesting. It's called Operation Finale.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
I literally just saw within the last day or two about it.
Who's in that?
It's Oscar Isaac, Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, okay. I was just reading something about that.
Based on a true story, hunting down one of the big Nazi officers who escaped to Brazil. It's about the whole Boys from Brazil thing.
That's cool.
So that looked interesting. But other than that,
it's got our boy in it, so.
I'm a huge Oscar Isaac fan.
Yeah, we gotta make that happen. Yeah, because we were talking about that, and we're like, would love to go see something in the theater, but there was nothing really appealing. And then I noticed, like, I haven't read a single one of these articles, but I keep seeing these headlines about Crazy Rich Asians and how well it's doing. And I'm curious, and it seems pretty funny from the trailer that I had seen, like way back when, during whatever movie I was seeing.
I've heard about it coming out, but I have not seen any trailers for it. I know it's been very, very successful. It was the top of the box office. So I'm intrigued. I guess I would go see that, but it wasn't really on my radar.
But there's a lot of buzz about it being top of the box office, and there's nothing out. So that's why I just think it might be a little skewed.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just.
I hope not. I'm just saying that's the first thing that came to mind.
I mean, for me, most of the time when I read like reviews of stuff, it's on stuff like IGN or whatever. So that's not the type of movie that would be reviewed on IGN.
And hang on. Speaking of IGN for a second, I went back and looked up that story you had mentioned last week. And was that a snowball effect of the editor that was fired for plagiarism?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot you and me. Like, it feels like it was weeks ago that we recorded because we did it on Monday last week, and this is a Wednesday now.
Right. We just that extra couple of days just.
It felt like we missed a week.
But I went down that rabbit hole and I watched like video after video of people talking about this and like
you sent me that one video. I watched the whole thing. It was quite a bit.
It is brutal. And then like the next like 2 days later, more stuff came out. And I was like, this is this is bad. Well, this guy's done.
Yeah, no, he's not getting up from this one.
Whew, that was rough.
Nor should he.
You can just, I mean, you should, if you don't know that about that story, it is an interesting thing. You should go check it out. It's very scummy.
Yeah, that guy's a dirtbag.
Yeah. So you can just Google IGN plagiarism. You'll find it. We're not sponsored by Google or IGN or plagiarism. Go on. I'm in rare form. You know why I'm in rare form today? I'm in rare form because of that shit movie you made me watch, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Spoilers.
I didn't even say the name of the real movie. It's called Good Time.
Yeah. I think everyone probably saw it in the title.
Probably.
Well, I'm saying this despite the fact that I haven't actually
time travel.
Synopsis. Spoiler alert, guys. I've written like 53 out of the 55 or 54 out of the 56 articles or episodes we've done.
You know, that's being modest. You've written all but one. I think there was only one time where I had to sub in.
Oh, was it just one?
I thought you weren't available.
I thought you might have done two, but yeah, no, I knew there was at least one because it was. I remember like texting you like, yeah, there's 0% chance I'm going to write this, so have at it.
Yeah, I hop in occasionally and drop in the needed punctuation that may be missing or something that might have happened when you typed it on your phone or something like that had happened. But otherwise, it's all.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I copy and pasted something I did in a notepad to you because I couldn't get it onto the Spin Tune site. So I just it was like, oh shit, I'm not home, not in front of my computer. Like, typed it out on my like a draft and a note and just copied it and sent it. Oh, actually, I didn't even copy it. I think I screenshot it and sent it to you because I couldn't find out how to like do it fast enough. I remember there was something else going on and I was doing it like surreptitiously to get it out. Like I don't know if I was in the middle of something or if I was at work or something. I don't remember what was going on, but
it's just really funny. I throw everything into Grammarly because I love that application for grammar check, punctuation, spelling, all that good stuff. I don't pay for it, so I don't get those. It's like 7 other things that you could be doing to make this better. I'm like, man, you really know how to pull the strings because I'm very close to purchasing that. But I have this like ridiculous paranoia of writing something and then sending it out and it being incorrect. And I do this with like every email that I write at work. I'll write it first in Grammarly and I'll move it over, like unless the plugin's working that day. And it's just like a funny little hang up that I have. And I don't know, like I don't really care. Like if I sent it out and it was wrong, it'd be like, oh, like I made a mistake. That's fine. But for whatever reason, I really want to get it right. So I'm looking things up. I'm looking up tenses. I'm making sure that I have these things perfect when I write them. And earlier today, I was messaging some friends through Slack, which we use at work, but I also have like a private channel with friends and other developers that I've worked with over the years. And I wrote the word compliment with an I, and then compliment with an E, and then I kept sending it. I said compliment. I just kept sending it, and I was like, "Can somebody please pick the right one for the sentence?" Because I just couldn't get it. And then I got real angry at the English language.
That's one of those ones that, like, because everyone's like, 2, there, you know what I mean? Like, the ones that people, like, commonly...
Yeah.
I sometimes forget that there's 2 compliments.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used one of them incorrectly, because I think I don't think I've ever actually made the association.
You also probably never written it. You might not write the word often, so you don't have to think about it.
The thing is, I probably have only ever used one of them in like written word. That's probably what that might be.
Right. Right. It's just one of those words that drives me crazy. The thing is, I'm never, because of that, and because of this hang up that I have, what it does is it turns off a little piece of my brain, and I'll never be able to get this right.
No,
I'm going to have to look it up every time.
You firmly got that as a crutch now.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. I can say it 1,000 times over and over again, and I will forget next time.
Oh, 100%.
It's absolutely frustrating. Moving on.
Yeah, we can get into the 2 main news stories there. Oh, sorry, I guess you have 3.
Let's talk about Hans.
I keep calling it 2 because I had 2 of them, and the third one felt less like news.
Gotcha.
It felt more like a discussion topic for whatever reason. Although I may be misremembering that too, honestly. So
let's talk about My boy Hans. Love the Hans Zimmer. Love listening to his music while I work.
That was why I took it down to the store. I was like, oh, Anthony will love to hear about this.
It's just fantastic. And he's doing the score for Wonder Woman 1984. Now, the fun part of the story that I was reading is like Hans Zimmer returns to
Wonder Woman is the only thing that they consistently get shit right with?
No, but that's a true statement. But the story was how he said that he was done scoring superhero movies. And I was like, oh, why is that? And I thought about it.
And they keep pulling me back
in. Just when I thought I was out. But then I was reading a little bit further, and it's like, 11 years doing Batman scores. And I'm like, that's fair. You can be done. But you're coming back for this, and, I appreciate it because I absolutely love his movie. His songs are so epic. And just like the score for any of the movies that he does, except for unless you want to have like a heart attack or die sooner, don't listen to the Dunkirk one. But although, everything else,
I still feel like he's more of a dark, ominous tone guy.
We're going to talk a little bit about that when we get into the movie.
Considering there's been 10 years of internet jokes about insert Inception noise here, I feel like that is.
That's totally fair. But I'm very excited about that. The music in Wonder Woman was. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was great to begin with.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember anything specifically. I know you're offended by her like personal entrance theme,
which I'm pretty sure is him.
It might very well be,
but for whatever reason, that's like everybody gets one.
I'm not offended by it. I actually don't mind it.
So that's the weird thing. I've started to come around on it because I learned how to play it on guitar.
Is it because you found out that Hans Zimmer wrote it?
No. I'm still kind of annoyed by it. That whole thing, I don't need it. You know what it was? It's not. It alone is fine, but it in the context of the movie, I just hate what they were doing with those DC movies prior to Wonder Woman. It's bad. But anyway, this is going to be great. I've got no worries here. The music's going to be phenomenal. Maybe all 3 parts of the movie are going to be great this time. I'm excited. But I'm really excited about the music, and I'll be focused in on that when we watch
I rewatched the second half of that movie recently for the first time. It was like on HBO, and I was just like, oh, let me throw it on. And I guess I may have been mildly too harsh with the ending or the climax of the movie, but only mildly too harsh.
Just mildly.
Yeah.
Don't set everything on fire. Just cover it in lava.
Yeah. Still a pretty solid movie overall. I was still enjoying up to that part.
Super entertaining. I'm still a fan. Excited to see where this one goes. The next story...
1984 is where it goes.
Well done. Shakeups on the production of Bond 25. Now, I'm glad you said that this was part of your story. I don't have much on this other than Danny Boyle left.
No, just that it's happening.
He's out. He's no longer attached to this movie, not directing it. If they don't delay this movie, what is it going to be? Trash?
Probably. Also, I saw tangential to that that if they take too long to find someone else, they're going to lose Daniel Craig.
Maybe they should take an extra minute then, because I'm fucking done.
I like Daniel Craig, and I like Daniel Craig as Bond.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
I still have never seen Spectre, honestly.
That's
fine. So,
we were done after Casino Royale.
Skyfall was good. I still think it's ridiculous how many people like hype that up. It's not even close to as good as Casino Royale.
No, Casino Royale is fantastic.
It is. I know there's going to be a lot of older people, including my dad, who are going to vehemently disagree, but Casino Royale is probably the best Bond movie.
A few watches of other ones I could probably get on board with that statement. It is. Well, it's also, I don't know. It's one of the it's a great movie in general.
Yes,
and I think that's also what adds to it, right? Because not only is it a great movie, but they pulled it off in the universe.
When you look at it on that scale, you're right. Of all of the Bond movies, it is the best movie, just as movies go. But I also think, and that actually, I don't even think that's close.
No, I don't think so either.
I do think it's the best Bond movie as well. Although I know my dad's favorite is Live and Let Die, which I also love. And I think my favorite of the older ones actually might have been Goldfinger, and I think that's like his one.
Goldfinger.
That's in his like top 3.
Yeah, that's great.
Those would probably be my top 3 Bond movies.
I remember always being a fan of The Man with the Golden Gun. It's way more campy, obviously.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed that one. I love GoldenEye again, but for the camp. Like it's great like that. But the Casino Royale is accessible though.
Yes,
and that's
it's supposed to be. It's an origin.
Yeah.
It was a reboot, whatever, you know.
Yeah, and it's really well done. But part of what I kind of miss about like when I was a kid watching James Bond movies, like the Pierce Brosnan ones, that the attachment, there was like no real attachment from movie to movie, like for like any of them really.
Well, that's not just the Brosnan.
No, it's any of them. Those are the ones that I grew up with, though.
Outside of the odd reference to a gadget from a previous movie that you would see from time to time in Q's lab.
Right. But that's it. And I kind of liked that. Each movie was its own little standalone story. It's like we understand the character. We understand where this stuff goes. That's cool to me. Like not everything needs to be a trilogy. Not everything needs to be, or in this case, what is it? It's going to be like 5 now?
That will be the 5th one with Craig, yes.
And those movies are in line.
Yes. Still more loosely based than your average series, but still very much a series.
But that's kind of what I liked about it is like back in the day, if you saw GoldenEye and you missed Tomorrow Never Dies and you saw The World Is Not Enough, did I get those in the right order?
Yes.
Nice. That's awesome. I don't think I've referenced those movies in a very long time, so pulling on that feels like an accomplishment. But anyway, if you were to skip...
No, it's got to be in your brain somewhere because you, like me, were huge fans of that the time they were out. So.
Way back. Those VHS tapes are somewhere. But like I said, if you were to skip the one in the middle, it wouldn't matter at all. Like you missed nothing. Like it doesn't matter. And whereas this, you might feel like you're missing some relationship connection or some backstory, and that is not the Bond that I remember. And it's not really. It's kind of silly because like we're talking like 20 movies of that. This is the character, this is the type of thing that happens, and that's okay. And I think that was a great formula to have, and to change this to make it a more sequential, not fully sequential, like where you absolutely need to see the previous one, but to tie them a little bit more tightly together, it feels like a mistake to me, or a mistake.
It's like they compromised between the two methodologies, which I don't mind.
I don't know. I feel like one, either go all the way or don't, and don't with this series is more what I'm getting at. But that's just my personal opinion. Because I also, like I said, I like the fact that if I want to watch a Bond movie, I could take any of the first 21 Bond movies and throw it in. Doesn't matter, right? You could just enjoy that on its own. You get 22, 23, 24. And these are ridiculous numbers to be talking about, which is pretty impressive in its own right. But I don't know. It feels like it takes away from that whole series for me. But
the funny thing is, the one that's the most important to know what happened before it is Quantum, and it's also the one that is far and away the worst.
Yeah.
And also the one that's far and away the least essential.
Yeah.
Because Skyfall doesn't really have much to do. There's like one off like line about Vesper, and that's really more about Casino Royale than anything. So
yeah. But that I don't know, with the Craig movies, his experiences throughout the movies are obviously carried with him.
But you get that, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to know the specifics if you know the theme.
That's fair. It feels like what it used to be was kind of what they're going for with Mad Max, like a legend of this character, and you see him, and by changing the character, it makes it even better because you're seeing him portrayed different ways through the eye of the director at the time or whoever, the casting agent, whatever. But like that's kind of fun. And this takes away from that little that like legend aspect of it.
Or even it like kind of goes to like the Burton, Schumacher Batmans of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's like episodic, but not fully like serialized.
Yeah, except the weird thing about those is 1, 2, and 3, sure, but 4 is like a direct sequel to 3.
Was it?
I don't know. It feels that way.
It is. You know why it is? And there's really only one reason. It's because Robin is in it.
Yeah.
Played by Chris O'Donnell specifically.
Yeah. That movie.
That's about it.
The Alfred's on his deathbed in the fourth one, and it's because of that movie. As a whole, it was just killing him to do that.
It's actually kind of really weird that they kept Chris O'Donnell as Robin, but changed to Batman's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. Let's not look too far into that. That's
the only other thing that really ties them together is like they took all of like the theme and a lot of the visual stuff from Batman Forever,
like the nipples,
and they just expanded on it in the next one and made it so campy that it just collapsed like nuclear implosion.
Yeah.
like a fusion.
It definitely implodes upon itself. Speaking of Alfred being on his deathbed, there's a Alfred. There's an Alfred series coming out. It's going to be on Epix, and it's called Pennyworth. And I did not hear anything about this prior. I'm not saying this is a joke. I'm actually kind of excited about it. It sounds interesting to me. But why is this so funny to you?
Why the fuck is there an Alfred show?
Because they did something interesting with him in Gotham, I guess. So they're figuring, why not explore that a little further?
So is it a spin-off? Or are they keeping the same actor?
I don't believe so. There's auditions right now for the role of Alfred. I'm going to read this quick. This is from CBR.com. This is just a quick thing that I came across on the Flipboard. I added it there if you want to read further into it. Pennyworth was ordered straight to series for a 10-episode first season. You just can't get over the fact that it's called Pennyworth. Anyway, the series will present...
No, I was actually laughing at the fact that it was ordered straight to series.
Straight to series. The series will present a young Alfred in the 1960s who is just retired from his service as a British Special Air Service soldier. The young veteran will somehow come to meet Thomas Wayne, and together they will form a secret organization where Alfred's special skills will come in handy. All of this assumed to culminate in Alfred leaving his homeland behind to move to Gotham City, where he will become a trusted friend and honorary member of the Wayne family. It feels like 10 episodes is probably enough.
Like total.
Like just a quick, and that's something that I think I would like to start to see more of. If that was an actual
limited series?
A limited series in a situation like this. Like
cool with it.
We got, we have our Netflix Daredevil, right? And we have like those things, and they're meant to be extended upon and make extra. But if you wanted to take an arc, do it and be done and move on. Like that would be a great way to move that medium from the page to the screen.
Well, I'm not even just talking about comic book stuff, but I'm cool with the rise of limited series in general. Not that everything should be that, because I certainly don't believe that.
There's a place for all of this stuff. Yeah, I think that this story is going to get stale after 10 episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
So wrap it up.
Prequel stuff does that often, except for Better Call Saul, which I hadn't been able to watch the first couple weeks. The third episode of the new season just aired this week. And I just got caught up with all three of them.
But that's because Vince Gilligan's a genius. Now, I'm behind on that show.
That show, with The Americans ending earlier this year, that is the new leader in the clubhouse for best show on TV currently.
Ooh, okay.
It's so good. The show is so good. And it's getting a lot closer to Breaking Bad now, because in this season alone, a bunch of people have showed up in the show who were in Breaking Bad. Even if they were just in it for 2 seconds, whether that show or the show, a bunch of characters have been showing up, as well as some that have already over the first 3 seasons.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to go back in and catch up on that show. I remember I stopped watching it, but not for any like particular reason other than I canceled my cable.
Yeah, it wasn't because you didn't like it. It was one of those things that happens. That was definitely one of the shows that it's like, do I really want to pull the plug on this? And I did, and I do miss that, but it's very entertaining. Good. It's great writing. What's his face? Why can't I think of his name? Bob Odenkirk is phenomenal. I love him. He's so great. So I'm definitely going to have to check back in on that and catch up. That is it. That's all I have news-wise. Do you have anything else? Oh, just that while you were reading that thing about like the origin for like Alfred or whatever, I didn't realize that they wholesale ripped that off for Woodhouse in Archer. Woodhouse's backstory was almost exactly that first bit of the synopsis you read. I didn't realize that they like completely ripped that off because I'm not a big comics book reader, so like I don't know those sorts of things, like what the origin of Alfred was pre-Batman.
I don't know anything about the history of Alfred. The only thing I know is the glimpse that we get into him in The Dark Knight, which I love so much.
Yes. No, which is great and everything.
Michael.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know like what young Alfred. Can they just Pennyworth? No, it should have been young Alfred.
Yeah.
I would have left.
What's Pennyworth? What are you gonna do? That's it. So that's it for this week. Then we're done.
Honestly, on its own, not a terrible episode.
No, not at all. So we're about to ruin it by talking about this godforsaken movie. So
no, we gotta spice this up. We go all in on.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it. The movie is called Good Time. I was making a very bad joke before. It got Al, so it's a success.
Appropriate joke.
So yeah, it would be. The movie is not good.
It's okay.
I'm gonna start there.
Okay.
I'm gonna vehemently disagree with that.
No. I mean, it's okay that it's not good.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is okay that we haven't had one of these.
We've been on a run, and I mean, if you haven't figured this out, like we choose to watch the things that interest us, whether it be because we know it's good, whether it's because it's on a thing that we want to watch, a director that we like, an actor that we like, whatever. So there is a kind of a bias towards us almost cherry picking the movies that we're going to do. Kind of 9 times out of 10, because that's not always what we do. Like I sometimes look at, what am I missing? What's new on Netflix that I've never heard of before? Stuff like that. That's how we got into Enemy, and I ended up really liking that movie. Sure.
Well, okay. Also, to add to that, if there is a movie that you would like us to cover, please send your requests to flixinthesix@spintune.com. We
received a request.
Oh boy.
The request is I have to look it up because I always fuck up the name. I always want to call it Just Go With It, the Adam Sandler movie, and that's not what it is. I think it's Get Over It.
Get Over It.
I was mentioning it to you and Kim when you guys were here a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I think it would be a movie that you guys would both get on board with watching.
Okay.
It's got a great cast of people who were either not at all famous or just getting famous at the time. It came out in 2001.
Cool.
I will read you the cast list, the main cast list. Kirsten Dunst, Ben Foster, Melissa Sage Miller, Cisco, that is the Thong Songs.
Excellent.
Cisco. Shane West, Colin Hanks, Zoe Saldana, Mila Kunis.
Whoa.
Ed Begley Jr., Martin Short, Carmen Electra.
Okay. That's cool. A little ensemble going.
It is a high school movie about a bunch of high school students who do the play A Midsummer Night's Dream. Or at least that's kind of a through line running throughout the movie. It's not really what it's about.
Okay.
And I believe I think that the idea was that it was supposed to be kind of meta, that kind of something that goes on with the relationships of the characters.
Like matches up to the storyline.
Matches up to the story of A Midsummer Night's Dream. But I cannot verify that.
Like a 10 Things I Hate About You kind of situation?
I wouldn't know because I never saw that movie.
That's a phenomenal movie.
But Yeah, I never read the Shakespeare play, so
It
I'm
already
not
sounds
100%
1,000
sure, but I
times
think I.
better than this.
Oh no, it's a fun movie. I
Okay.
wouldn't say that it's a good movie in the way that most 2000-ish high school comedy type movies
Oh,
are
okay.
not
So I see
good movies per se, but it is a very entertaining movie.
So that's why you picked this. You were resetting the bar. Is that why you picked this movie?
No, I didn't pick it. It was a request.
No, Good Time. Did you pick
No,
Good Time so that you could reset the bar?
I picked Good Time because way back I saw a trailer for it and I was vaguely interested.
And then you saw the movie, and then you still told me to watch it.
Well, because we had already committed to doing it, and if I had to suffer through it, then you did too.
So Kim says that your decision-making privileges have been revoked because you don't realize that it extends to her because she watched the movies with me, and I thought that was really funny because we both sat there watching the movie. So here's the sucky thing, the really sucky thing about this movie. It took 3 sittings to get through this because
no, man, you did it wrong. This is a Band-Aid situation.
Absolutely should have ripped the Band-Aid off because the movie felt like 17 hours.
See, the thing is, it's not that long.
I know, it's like 12 minutes.
I think it was that big of a deal.
But
it's an hour and a half long.
We sat down to watch it. Mind you, the credits start about 20 minutes into the movie. That's neither here nor there. We sat down to watch the movie. We put it on, and we're both disgusted by the characters and what's happening on screen. And she was just like, I can't watch this. And I was like, it's like, that's fair. So we turned it off. And then the next day I put on and I watched a little bit further. And then when she came home, I turned it off. I was like, I'm not subjecting you to this. And then she said, just watch it. And I said, no. And then today, I was like, well, I have to finish it because we need to do this episode. So I caught her up on the 10 minutes that she, or it was probably like 20 to 30 minutes that she missed, which is really about, it's really nothing.
So you sat down and watched the last 20 minutes of the movie then?
So we sat down and watched it, and it felt like an eternity. And it's just so bad. The movie has, I'm going to say, almost no redeeming qualities.
From a narrative standpoint, yes, that I would absolutely agree with. My tweet-length review of this movie would be, bad things happening to bad people.
Mine is a garbage movie about shitty people doing shitty things and getting what they deserve.
Basically the same thing. Yours just had more words.
Yep. I think it meets the cap, though.
Yes. Yeah, no, I wasn't worried about trying to fill the full 280 characters. I just know that I could fit that into a tweet. And I usually try not to do this, but I was having trouble on my phone trying to dump my notes into OneNote, and I clicked on your thing, and I was like, oh, well, I'm here. I might as well read the notes. And I read them, and I was like, huh, his say almost exactly the same thing as me, just the words are slightly different.
That's great.
We basically have all the same notes.
That's amazing. So let's dive in real quick. So this is the story of a brother and his mentally handicapped brother. They rob a bank. Things go wrong. They rob a bank poorly. Things go wrong, obviously. And then the rest of the movie is spent with the brother trying to get his other brother out of jail. Because he's afraid that he's going to die there because he is mentally handicapped. He thinks that he's going to do something wrong.
Them to Rikers.
Yeah. And
they sent the mentally handicapped commander to Rikers.
Right. But, okay. And here's the thing. That driving force, as a plot point, as a device, the motivator for the main character, that could have worked. Could have worked, but we only touch on it in the beginning and at the very end. And I understand that that's the entire movie is him trying to get this man out.
I mean, it's kind of a through line. He mentions it throughout.
He mentions it, but it's overlooked. It's just not. I don't think it's handled very well. And here's my point: it could
have been handled better. Although they do check back in, more in the first third of the movie or so.
Yeah, they forget about him for the second act and most of the third.
Yeah, the middle section of the movie, the brother is not on screen at all. I don't think so. Yeah,
no, not once. Yeah, terrible pacing issue. But one of the things though, like I said, that could have been an interesting thing, and you could have could have dove into that a little bit more, explore what it means for the main character, why he has this, it's an interesting idea, right? Where he's very protective of his brother. Like, that's a cool thing. I like that. But it's not. It falls short, and I don't. If even though they're trying to do that, it doesn't work because of this.
Delicate balancing issue, because if they explored that more, the movie would have been longer.
Maybe, but there's a good chunk of the movie
it would have to be.
Well, there's chunks of the movie that are completely unnecessary. There's a lot of what is basically B-roll for no reason at all. And it's bad. It's real bad. Like, there's helicopter shots. Like, they got a helicopter to shoot, like, 10 minutes of driving footage. It's bad. Al, it's really bad.
I'm trying to remember, because it was been a few weeks since I've seen the movie.
They did, I assure you.
Well, no, because the reason I'm asking is some of it honestly could have just been straight CGI.
Yeah, it's funny. No, I don't think it was. It looked like it was. Well, if anything, maybe it was okay-ish CGI.
So his on foot getaway late in the at the end of the movie.
God.
I'm fairly certain that was CGI.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't make it better.
It makes it cheaper.
Okay, well I'm glad that you said that, because there's an ethical issue with this movie, and that is the fact that it costs a certain amount of money to make this, and that money could have been spent doing way better things.
Well, I imagine that the amount of money they spent on this is not very significant, because
was it more than $1?
Well, I don't think that Robert Pattinson would go for less than the per diem. So,
well, that's my point. That's it. This movie has a sickening amount of close-up shots. It is borderline the last season of Walking Dead, and it's bad. And it's way too much. I understand using that for effect, but it's done. 90% of this movie is a close-up shot of someone's face.
That seems hyperbolic.
It's okay. It is. It's 89. It's too much. It's horrible. It's disorienting, especially in the first act of the movie. It's so, with the lighting and what's happening in the first act, and having the camera that tight to someone's face, it made me want to vomit. Did not add any dramatic effect. I could see those people's faces from a few feet back. Pull the fucking camera out. Like, what are you doing? It was not okay. The other part of this that added to this nausea is the music. So we had this great idea. The aesthetic of like the shots in the film feels like an old 80s movie, like an early 80s movie. The music feels like an early 80s.
I would say with the soundtrack to match it. I dug like the lighting and the vibe and the score to the whole movie, but that's probably the only good thing about the movie.
Those two things are great. The sound mixing, on the other hand, was terrible. And the sound
I don't recall.
Was disorienting, and it would jump up and down between the sound effects, the music and the background and the vocal track, and it was just not handled well. Also disorienting. So it was disorienting to your eyes and ears and completely offensive to your whole body. I am very upset with this movie.
It wasn't great.
Don't understand the title.
I will agree with you on that, because watching this movie wasn't a good time.
No. Let me go through my list here real quick. Sickening barrage of close-up shots, some of the worst sound editing I've ever noticed. Like the early 80s aesthetic and dark ominous tones. Boom. Yeah, like that piece was okay. My favorite part of this movie, we're in spoiler territory because you shouldn't be watching this movie. I cannot recommend it to you. My favorite part of this movie is one of the shitty characters falling off a building.
Oh, that was incredible.
And I was just like, thank God.
I was openly laughing during that, like out loud. I was sitting in my basement watching this movie alone, and I was laughing out loud for a couple of reasons. One, because I was like, he's going to end up falling or jumping off the building.
Absolutely.
And then it happened, and I started laughing.
When he goes into the bedroom, I'm like, he's going to fall out the window. And then he opens the window. I'm like, he's going to go out the ledge, and he's going to fall off the building. And then he goes around the ledge. I'm like, he's going to reach over to the next ledge, and he's going to fall off the building. And then he does, and I'm like, yes! And there's like Oh, how about okay? You want to talk about sound editing again for a second? There's a scream that is synced up with that fall that starts about 2 seconds too late, and it almost ruins the experience of this guy dying for you. And there's the other piece of it is I am the captain now. What's his name? What's his name?
Something Barkti, isn't it?
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Oh, sorry, Barkad Abdi.
Barkad Abdi. He there whatever's going on with his track when they're picking him up, those sounds are not coming out of him. The screams, the way that they're coming out, it doesn't match up right. Also weird. Did not approve of that. The movie frustrates me, Al. Everything about the movie frustrates me.
But this is a good
everybody
thing.
in the movie frustrates me.
We need this sort of catharsis because we've been spoiled, with the exception of that mystery episode that will be released at some point later this year.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We need this catharsis of something that we didn't like because we were on too good of a run. You know how the stock market needs a correction once in a while?
Yeah, this was ours.
This was our correction. Plus, we got a good beer. It's not like we had I didn't give you a shit beer to drink with the shit movie.
I appreciate that. It could have been much worse. The one cool thing, though, when they robbed the bank, those masks were pretty awesome.
They were.
I liked the masks. That was about it. Man.
Can we talk about the heist itself? Because
yeah.
I was doing play-by-play like while they were doing it, and I'm like, you guys are the dumbest bank robbers I've ever seen.
Yep.
And like you thought like, oh, it's gonna be a super easy job, we got it all. It started off with some decent ideas behind it. You know, the note, the masks, the whole, what you're wearing construction outfit. They had change of clothes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. There was some planning that went into this.
Mm-hmm.
But the execution in the moment was piss poor. A couple of things. One, you brought a mentally handicapped man on a bank robbery with you. Not a wise decision.
No.
Literally anyone else, including someone who was actively trying to double-cross you, would have probably been a better choice. Because he's just not meant to deal with the amount of stress that's going on there.
No, absolutely not.
No matter how much you can trust him, because you can. He's your brother. You guys love each other. It's great. I can understand that part of it, wanting to have someone to have your back. Two, if you're robbing a bank and you've done a very good job of only letting the teller know and threatening them properly so that they will not hit the sensor triggering, the silent sensor or whatever, do not tell that person to leave the room and leave your site to get you more cash.
Right.
In fact, that was even more important than the mentally handicapped brother being along.
So stupid. So stupid.
I was actively angry, how fucking stupid are you?
When she left and came back with the money, I was like, man, I can't wait for the ink to explode.
Yep, that's what I was saying. I was like, so you know that all has those ink pellets in it now, right? You know that when you told her to go out of your site to get more money?
That was so stupid. I feel bad for the cab driver.
Oh, yeah, having because you know what? That was kind of cool. I've just seen the one that just kind of squirts some ink before. I've never seen this fucking smoke bomb thing go off before. That was kind of cool.
That was cool. Not enough to redeem anything.
Oh, no.
But then there's the... Okay, here's a fun thing. When did you know that it wasn't his brother that he broke out of the hospital?
Pretty early.
You did? Because I didn't know even after he started talking, and I was like, did they forget that his brother was challenged? And I was very confused. And this could have been because I broke watching the movie twice.
So, the way it all went down, him breaking him out, it seemed like they were setting up hijinks to ensue. But then it became the Family Guy joke that we talk about all the time, where they spent so much time not revealing that he got it wrong that I was like, maybe I was wrong about that. maybe he did get his brother out. And then it was unclear when the reveal happens at first, right? It was unclear because he starts freaking out. I'm talking about the Robert Pattinson character, Connie. He starts freaking out, but it's pitch black. So you can't see what he's freaking out about. And then, yeah, he starts talking. It was like, was the whole mentally challenged thing like a ruse? Is he not?
Right.
Because that's a different voice. It was like, or are they finally paying off that whole thing I thought was going on where yep, that's what they're doing. He broke out someone else. Okay, it only took you guys like, what, half an hour to pay that off at least?
That's ridiculous. It didn't even cross my mind that they were like trying to pull the wool over your eyes and he wasn't challenged. I legit thought they forgot. That's how bad this movie is.
No, to their credit, they executed it all properly. I do think they waited too long to come back around on it.
Let's not say to their credit. Let's not give these folks credit. This movie was not good.
Well, I do want to be a little bit fair because I mean,
I'm not feeling fair today, Al.
That's fair. These guys haven't really made much in the way of movies. This is their first feature film.
Just
the guy who played the brother was one of the two co-directors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm aware of the travesty. the one funny thing was the sweet old lady on the excessive ride, who then turns out to be a little strange. God only knows what's going on in that house.
Actually, fairly strange. That was weird. I feel like that was the most interesting part of the movie. I would have liked to go.
You want to dive deeper into that character?
Yeah, just everything around that whole thing, because this could have turned into a different, probably better movie.
You know what concerned me? The amount of acid that was poured down that guy's throat. Is he dead? Is he gonna die now? How does that work? I'm not familiar with the drug. I don't know what it's really gonna do to you, but that was a lot, right? Because a little drop of it is really what set this guy on a bender earlier in the movie. And he poured about a quarter of a cup down his mouth.
Didn't they dilute it some?
I don't know. I really don't know.
They definitely gave him way too much.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would die. I'm certainly no expert. Probably gonna fuck him up. Probably gonna fuck him up for quite some time.
There was a line in the movie that really frustrated me though. Now, if I'm gonna give credit to anything, Robert Pattinson did pull off playing this douche character really well.
Well, this is really why I wanted to see this movie, was because at the time I saw the trailer for this for the first time, I knew it was like a festival movie that was not yet coming out to like box office stuff. I saw it was A24, so I was interested. This is our first A24 miss.
This is A24?
Yes. You could tell from the vibe. Because they have...
I don't remember seeing that in...
particular vibe.
In credits at all.
Yeah, it was.
Huh.
What I was interested by was at the time that this came out, I had just recently seen The Lost City of Zed, which had Robert Pattinson in it. And which I didn't even realize was Robert Pattinson at first because he was like, well, for one, the movie was taking place in the early 1900s, so different, aesthetic. And he had a beard and glasses and put on a bit of he's still playing an English person, but he was put on a bit of a different accent, and he wasn't playing, a vampire or an edgy wizard. Those characters are kind of basically the same.
Oh my god!
So he was actually really good in that movie, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he really can act. He's just been doing these movies because, well, I mean, I would do them too for the amount of money he made, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I had no actual indication that he was a good actor from those.
Sure.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, he's a pretty good actor. I hate that movie so much. And I love Harry Potter, and I hate the Goblet of Fire so much. That's a conversation for another time.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a good actor in that movie. I was like, oh shit, he can act. I was intrigued by him and his character in that movie. I saw that he was going to be playing a serious role as the star of like an indie movie. I was like, oh, let me check that out. I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of interested by this whole thing of it's got to get this run all night type of vibe where he's robbing a bank and he's trying to save his brother and there's all this stuff. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it's got a lot of elements that would lead to an entertaining, energetic movie.
That's why I wanted to watch this movie.
Yep.
It blew up in our faces.
Oh yeah,
I don't regret the process behind trying to see this movie.
You know what bothers me a lot is I see 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. I'm like, stop it.
Yeah, it scored. It was like an 80 on Metacritic or something.
Yeah, the Rotten Tomato score was in the high 80s, wasn't it?
I didn't see the Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really go on Rotten Tomatoes very often.
But like, no, just absolutely not.
I can see the elements of how this movie could have been a good movie. There are aspects of that. The thing is, while the potential for this to be an interesting, good movie was there, it did not deliver in that category. Other than the fact that I thought he had to carry the movie. He's the star. He spends by far the most time on screen, most lines in the movie, whatever. And just as a showcase of his talent, pretty good. As a movie, not very good.
We have the Jennifer Jason Leigh character,
who reaffirmed my disdain for her.
She's in the movie for
3 scenes?
10 minutes?
Maybe.
5-10 minutes. Is not necessary at all. The plot?
Whether or not she is, I wish she was on screen less.
That was just like another thing that was just unnecessary.
She could have been crucially important, and I still would have wanted her not on screen.
Why do you hate her so much?
I don't know. You know what it is? She always looks and sounds like she's about to cry.
Well, I felt that way watching this movie, so that's fine.
I felt that way during Annihilation too, and thankfully she didn't do any actual crying. In this, she does.
Right. You know what really made me the angriest during this whole little journey that I went on with this movie?
Do tell.
There's a line that Robert Pattinson's character has where he says, "It's not my fault," and I said, "Don't you fucking dare!" Like when that line came out, I was like, "You are everything that is wrong with society." And I actually think my blood boiled. It was bad.
Like steam came out of your ears and pores?
My chest hurts right now thinking about it.
Oh, no.
Like, it made me so mad. And I was just like, when he gets caught in the lamest possible way, that is almost as satisfying as the guy dying.
Well, they happen back to back.
Yeah. It was the 1-2. And when when we're in the cop car and we have the camera 2 inches up his right nostril, Kim goes, "Is that it?" And I was like, God, I hope so. I mean, unfortunately, there was another few more minutes to make us remember that, oh, right, his brother was supposed to be some driving force behind this. Let's bring him back in before we roll the credits. Let's not forget to do that.
The only positive thing that happened in the movie.
I watched a movie.
So the only person who deserves something positive happening to them.
Yeah, that's true. I watched a movie years ago. We used to watch B movies on Tuesday nights. We get them from Blockbuster. Just random garbage. One of my dad's friends from the pizzeria dropped off a random movie because he caught wind of this. It was called Zombies Gone Wild. It was horrendous, but it's horrendous going in. It's a B movie. It's funny. We found it entertaining. The best thing
was it a B movie or was it a B softcore porn movie?
No, it was just a B movie.
Because the name Zombies Go Wild.
I'm aware, but that's not at all where this was. So the beauty of this movie, though, is that towards what would have been the end, they stop, turn to the camera, and say, "We ran out of money. This is all we've got. We hope you enjoyed it." And they walk away.
I mean, that's the Monty Python thing, right?
That movie is 100 times better than this movie. That's all I got. That's all I got.
I am interested at times by the kind of setup of this movie of just everything's about the chase. And in this case, it was kind of a multi-layered thing where it's literally being chasing money, chasing girls, chasing vindication for his brother, vindication for his own life and life choices. You know, as meta as a movie like this can be. So I wanted to like it, and I was very much not capable of doing that.
You know what's... Yeah, I agree with that. I could see, if you read the plot synopsis, if you think about the elements that are at play, it could have been good. I could see why you would think that going in. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, I have no illusions to that. No, the reason I wanted to end up doing this was kind of a dissection of a movie gone wrong.
Sure. You know what also... Oh, sorry, I'm just finding all sorts of things that really piss me off about this.
Oh, bad man.
He thinks that he's better than the other guy, the one that falls off the building.
Yeah, they have a conversation about that, right?
Yeah, he's not.
No.
He's marginally... He's just a different type of terrible.
Yes.
He's not better.
Well, for one, he's just like flat out smarter. He is a more
terrible adjacent.
No, to say like he is like undoubtedly just a smarter human being.
And the worst, you gotta have a dumb person. You got a smart dumb person. Ooh, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yes, which disaster they find.
Disaster they find.
No, I mean, yeah, he is quote unquote better, and that he is trying to take care of his brother. Though
that's it.
It takes him until the very end of the movie, and this is actually really kind of the only redeeming part of all this was that he does finally realize that that's not the case, because he could have put up a fight and dragged it out and this and that, and in the end he gives in and says, well, not says, I don't think he actually says it on screen or even in like a monologue type of thing, but I mean, like he carries out the idea that the whole reason I'm doing this is to better myself and my brother. I'm not going to be able to better myself, but I can better my brother's station by just taking the full fall for this. And it gets his brother what he needs, the care that he needs by people who can actually do that for him.
Sure.
So I do think they could have done a lot better job of getting us to that point.
Yeah, probably about 5 minutes into the movie.
I mean,
they probably could have wrapped that up before the credits rolled based on the pacing of this movie. Before the opening credits rolled. There's
a full-on statutory rape that goes on.
That made me wildly uncomfortable.
Just to avoid him being revealed as the criminal that he is.
Yeah.
He committed a crime to hide how criminal he was.
It's not his fault, though.
I mean, he grabbed her and started making out with her. I'm going to go with it's his fault.
Oh, no, I'm quoting him.
Yeah, no, I know. Which is funny, though, because I'm pretty sure she told him already, right, that she was like 16?
Yeah.
So it's his fault.
You know what, though? What's very upsetting about that conversation is, as it happens, it's like he hears that number and he's like, oh, okay, then we're good. I'm like, what?
Nope.
That's not how... Do you know how
not
numbers?
Great. He's just not great
at
at math.
Numbers? You don't know the numbers.
He's not great at math.
You don't know things.
You don't know things.
I asked Kim this question. Her response was, he dyes his hair.
Yeah, bad.
He's got very, very dark hair. Mm-hmm. He dyes it with blonde hair dye. Then he has very, very blonde hair. Don't think it would have worked that well.
Well, because I don't think he dyed it. He bleached it.
It was, I don't know, it was hair dye.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the net result was a bleaching of the hair.
Yeah. But I feel like it was it worked too well.
I mean, she said, I don't know what color that's going to come out. It's not very good.
That's fair. Oh my god. Man, this movie made me angry.
I think that's probably the way you should come out of this, is a little anger at what's going on. Also, this is one of the movies that, like, even though you're told it's like New York, is it though?
Yes. It absolutely 100% is, because I went to high school with people like this. I meant people like this constantly.
I meant like the actual city.
Oh, that I don't think so.
You know what I mean? Like, if you told me it was
the subway map, there was a subway map.
Okay. No, I'm just saying, like, the parts where they were like in like residential areas, like, looked like it could have passed for like Brooklyn or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like when they're in the city, like, I didn't see an Empire State Building.
I'll tell you what, they were able to pull off those shots with them driving the car with the helicopter, and there was no traffic. It wasn't the city.
That's what I'm saying.
It just wasn't.
There was nothing about it that made it feel like New York City, other than maybe the shitty people with the exaggerated accents.
Right. That's, oh my god, what a disaster. It's
a shame, because I really did want to like the movie, and there's no justification for liking the movie.
No,
not a one. With the exception of Robert Pattinson performing fairly well.
Yeah, but not an exception. Not enough of an exception.
Oh no. He still.
So if it wasn't clear from this, don't watch this movie at all. Don't do it. You know what you should watch? Between the last episode and this episode, I did watch 3 excellent movies, though.
Oh, do tell.
Movies that I had seen before. Well, 2 of 3. One of them I hadn't, and I'm actually surprised I never saw. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, rewatched that.
Fantastic.
Which is just if you just need a laugh,
or maybe a cry.
You know what? There's one of my really favorite things that goes on in this movie, because it happens in, there's a lot of scenes where it happens. There's a very subtle, quick delivery of a line that's just so funny, where there's one where Jason Segel's standing at the desk, and he's talking to Mila Kunis, and he's like, "Is she coming my way?" "Yep. I wish I wasn't wearing this fucking shirt." And then he and it's just like those quick deliveries, that's what makes that movie. There's all sorts of hidden things that you'll catch, like new ones every time you watch it. Just like really quick lines in there that are either off screen or slightly muffled in the background, like, and they're just solid gold. So that movie is wildly entertaining. The other movie that I watched was The Prestige.
Yes.
Man, is that a good movie?
It sure is.
I forgot a lot of that movie. So I remember the whole Hugh Jackman trick twist. I'm not going to explain that, because
that movie was also recommended to us by one of our adoring fans.
I'll happily do that movie.
As if we need a movie when we don't have a new release to do. Though I've seen the movie several times all the way through. Yeah. But I would probably want to rewatch it start to finish to do the episode. Because there's so much going on that I want to have all the details right there at my
watched
disposal.
It this week, and I'd still want to watch it again before we did it. It's that good. It's that deep. There's that much going on in it.
I love that movie.
There's things that I picked up on this time around. Now, mind you, I saw the movie once when it came out, so I forgot a good deal of this movie. The secondary twist I actually figured out along the way this time, probably because in my subconscious I know that it happens, but I couldn't tell you the scenes as they were coming. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I just remembered how good of a movie that is. And great dialogue, great like production design, like the whole thing is incredible. It's
very good movie.
It's captivating from minute one. The movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It goes by.
It's a long movie that actually quite often is slow moving, but never drags.
No, not once. You are on the edge. Knowing everything that happens, you'll be on the edge of your seat watching it. The performances are tremendous. I can't say enough good things about The Prestige, especially after watching this outright garbage party. That is a good time. So I watched that, really enjoyed it, really was thinking about it a lot. Definitely want to do an episode on that. I think it'll be fantastic. And then the other movie that I watched was the Dante's Peak to that volcano, or vice versa.
The Illusionist?
The Illusionist. And I had not seen it before.
I've never seen it.
And it's not nearly as good, but that's because it came out right next to it. It's actually a very entertaining movie, very well acted. It made me not hate Paul Giamatti.
I didn't even know he was in it. Is that Edward Norton?
It is, and it's a good movie. It's well done.
That just reminded me. I never got to sit down and watch. It just came out a couple of weeks ago, or maybe almost a month ago. The roast of Bruce Willis on Comedy Central.
I still need to watch that.
I was watching a little bit of it today, and Kevin Pollak, of all people, did not expect to see him pop up on a roast or anywhere really. Was doing his, roasting, and Edward Norton is also on the dais. He is one of the roasters. And he goes, I think he said, I worked with Edward Norton once before. Great guy, great actor. You want to know how brilliant Edward Norton is? Just ask him. He'll tell you.
That's great. But The Illusionist was very entertaining. It's not the same caliber as Prestige, which is, oh my God, what a great movie. It was just a treat. It was a treat to watch those.
Probably a very underrated movie, because if you ask people their favorite Nolan movie, I don't think it comes up very often. But it might be my favorite of his, if not also being like his best.
It's certainly up there.
I mean, they're all up there. He hasn't made a bad movie.
No, it's certainly towards the top of that list.
Yeah. But I feel like it kind of gets crowded out for some reason. I mean, Inception was always going to be popular, and The Dark Knight has its cult following by people who aren't really Christopher Nolan fans. Not that that makes them better or worse, just like it's like people love the Nolan Batmans, but don't necessarily love his whole filmography, and that's fine. But I think that's the reason why it gets left out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Man, I absolutely love his films. They're so good. They're everything movies should be and more. And on that, I can go out on a high note there thinking about The Prestige, unless you want to bring me back down and talk about that shit movie again.
No, we've
good. Let's stay there then.
We've done what we needed to do.
That was a rough one.
You had a pretty good time making this episode.
Yeah, it was good. It was entertaining. That's it for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. Thank you for joining us. If you want to keep the conversation going, I'm at AEJ Costanzo on Twitter and Instagram. Al is at AlessandroB1187. Check out the Flix Flipboard magazine to follow the stories that we cover each week, and Flix and a Six on Instagram for teasers of what's to come. If you have a topic for the show, as I mentioned earlier, send those topics and questions and movies that you want us to review to flixandasix@spintune.com. We will answer, and we will be back next week with more movie and beer goodness. Until then, cheers.